Today's daf is daf samach tes, and the Gemara is dealing with the question of whether or not for the nechasim that have to be taken for the parnosas habonos after the death of the father, whether we can collect from mishubadim, even from lekuchos. And Rav sent Rebbe an igeres shlomim, and in that igeres tolole, he wrote to him, Rav, to Rebbe, this question: Bene chite, between the lines. And this is what he asked him: Ha'achim sheshibdu mahu. If the brothers were meshabed the nechasim of their father, does the achrayus that they have facilitate, allow for the possibility of the banos to collect from the chasim mishubadim for their parnasa, for their mazonos? Yes or no? And at the time that the letter was received by Rabbi Ami Yosef, he was sitting, Rabbi Chia Kamei, with Rabbi Chia in front of Rebbe. Amalei, Rabbi Chia turns to Rebbe, and he says, this suffix of Rav, as conveyed in the letter, what shibud is it referring to as far as the gvia of the banos? Is it a case of machru, where the brothers sold the nechasim, which the banos want to collect their mizonos, etc., from these lekuchos? Oh, or perhaps Rav's suffix is even in a case where the brothers only were mishkinu as hanechasim. For example, let's say they borrowed money and they were mishabe to the malveh karka, that if they don't pay, if they default on the loan, the malveh will collect from that karka. Amalei, Rebbe responds to Rebbe Chia, Mainaf Gemina. What difference does it make whether this suffix is bein machru u bein mishkino? The din is motziin leparnasa vein motziin lemizonos. That we only collect mishubadim for the parnasa of the banos, but we cannot collect from the chasim mishubadim for the mizonos of banos. And the Gemara clarifies this. The Rav, why did Rav, when he formulated the question, he wrote shibdu, which is a lashon that's ambiguous. You know, you could interpret it as lemachro or lemishkino. Ila machro kami boile, if his suffix was dafka in the case of machro, whereas we said before the sons sold the property. Nichtovle, why didn't he write machro, the e mashkino? And if his suffix he was vastly dafka about mashkino, kami boile, is nichtovle mashkino. He should have formulated the question about mashkino. Why did Rav leave his she'ela, his question, in such an ambiguous, undefined way? And the Gemara explains, Rav travayu kami boile. Rav really had a suffix in both cases, whether it's machro or mashkino. The sovereign, he thought, iksivale, if I'll write in the letter and formulate my question machro, hanicha, then yunachli, but ish shalachli, if Rebbe would send a tshuva that in the case of makro demotzian, so that even though the nechasim belong to the buyers who purchased the field kedasu kidin, and yet we take it away from them and we confiscate it for the purpose of supporting the banos, then kolshkein mashkino. How much more so if, in a case of mashkon, the karka doesn't really belong to the malveh? Certainly, with a kal v'chomer, the bonus could be motzi from the mashkon. And then I'll have an answer to all my sveikos. But on the other hand, Ishalachli, if Rebbe will respond to the Ein Motzia, meaning because I wrote Machro, he will say, no, we're not going to be Motzi from the Kuchos for the purpose of supporting the Bonos. Akati Mishkano Kami Boile, I would still vacillate about the case of Mishkano, because it's not like the case of Machro, where we can't take it out of the Rishus of the legal owners, maybe we will Kuchos, but in the case of Mashkino, the Chosim really don't belong to the Malveh, and maybe we can be Motzi the Nechosim from the hands of the Malveh for the sake of the Bonos. So I wouldn't know an answer to all my questions. On the other hand, Iksivale Mashkenon, if I will only formulate my question about Mashkon, then the response of Rebbe Sholach Li Di Motziyim, that you cannot be Motzi the Nechosim that don't really belong to the Malveh, but are Mimashkin in the Malveh, Kolshkin, how much more so Machlu. However, Isholach Li Motziyim, if his response would have been just the opposite, that in the case of Mashkon, we are able to rip the karka out of the hands of the Malva for the sake of supporting the Ktanos, the Isomos. Akati Mochu Komi Boile, I wouldn't know if we have the power to go as far as to take it from the Lakuchos, who are the rightful, genuine owners. Maybe in Mashkon, since the Nechosim don't really belong to the Malva, we can take it out, but not in the case of Lakuchos. Therefore, Rav thought, Echtov le Shibudo. I'll just formulate the question in terms of Shibud. The mashmahochi, it can be understood both in terms of Mecher and in terms of Mashkon. And Rebbe, in his response, will give me a specific answer to the two scenarios that are implicit here in the question, to both Mashkon and to Mecher. Rabbi Yochanan Amar echad zeh v'echad zeh ein motzi. Whether it's for Parnosa of the Bonos or for the Mizonos, we cannot collect from the Chosim Mishubon. And the Gemara now has a suffix. Iboilahu, Rabbi Yochanan says, Ein motzi lo shmiele haderadi. Is it possible that Rabbi Yochanan was unaware of Rebbe's response, who said motzi leparnosa? And that's why Rabbi Yochanan took a stand on the issue of Parnosa and said Ein Motzin. But Shmiele, had he heard Rebbe, Havi Makabale, he would have changed his mind, rescinded his opinion, and he would have passed like Rebbe Motzin in the case of Parnosa. O Dilma, perhaps, Shamole. Rabbi Yochanan was in fact aware of Rebbe's response, and nevertheless he rejected Rebbe. He disagreed with Rebbe, Lo Makabale. And the Gemara now wants to be poshek this suffix, this iboilu. Toshma de itmar mishem meis, v'niach shtei bonos uben. He left behind him 2 daughters and a son. And the din is that the ben, on a doraisa level, inherits all in a chasam of his father. Chacham made a takana that the bonos will receive from the estate of their father Mizonos, and 1/10 of the nechasim for parnosa, for the dunya, for the nesui. The kadma rishona, since there were 2 daughters, one daughter got married first. V'natla isur nechasim, she took 1/10 for the parnosa of her nesui. V'lo espika shnei libos anshemeis haben, and the second daughter did not get a chance, an opportunity to collect her chelek of isur nechasim until the son died, right? The brother died. He didn't leave any children behind him. And both daughters now will inherit the ben, their brother, shava b'shava, equally. So when the banos come to divide up the Yerusha, the second daughter now claims that before the Chalukah, she should be getting Isur Nechasim, 1/10, that is coming to her because of her nesuin. And that's what she would have collected from the ben. Just exactly like her older sister collected during the life of the ben. And only after she collects the Isur Nechasim, whatever remaining in the estate, will divide it equally shava b'shava. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shneya Vitra. The word Vitra here in this context means Hifsida. And it means that according to Rabbi Yochanan, she lost her claim for Isur Nechasim. And we're going to take the entire estate that was left by the Ben, by the Ach, and we're going to divide it up equally 50-50. Because it's only the Rishona, the first sister, who was Kadma. She came first, and she collected Isur Nechasim. Now they have a din like Shtei Achios, and they don't have an Ach who inherits. Therefore, the whole din of Isur Nechasim is gone. Reb Chanina turns to Reb Yochanan and says, Gedolamizu Amru, we have something even more far-reaching with regard to Parnosas Nesuin. Motzin, we will be motzi from the Lekuchos, le Parnosas Abonos, the motzi le Melekuchos le Mizonos. The At Amrit Shnia Vitra, and you're saying that the Shnia, the second sister, lost her Chelek. After all, if the Nechasim would have been in the hands of the Lekuchos that the Ben sold to, they would be able to collect from the Lekuchos for Parnos Abonim, how much more so that if Nechasim are right here, Lefanenu, in front of the Yarshim of the Ben. And that means the two daughters, certainly she should have rights to collect her Parnosa, her Isur Nechasim, meaning the second sister. And now the Gemara comes up with a proof to be posted to something. Isa, if Rabbi Yochanan never heard about Rebbe, that we take away from the Chasim Mishubadim for the purpose of Parnasa, Lemole, he should have said to Rav Chanina, Man Omra, who said this Chidush? You're saying Motziin Miyad Alekuchos for Parnasa Bas. Where do you know that from? It must be from the fact that Rabbi Yochanan didn't respond in that way. Rabbi Yochanan himself heard Rebbe's view that we take away, we collect in a Chasim Mishubadim in front of the Kufas for Parnasa, and nevertheless he disagreed with Rebbe and he holds Ein Motziyah. And therefore he didn't rescind his original position in the case of the Bas that she cannot collect from the Yerusha her Isur Nechasim before they divvy up the Yerusha of Shavah V'Shavah. The Gemara rejects this proof. Dilma Liolam Lo Shmiel. Really, in truth, Rabbi Yochanan never heard Rebbe at all. But Kabil, had he heard about Rebbe, he would certainly have accepted Rebbe's view, and he would have rescinded his original view. He would have come to the conclusion like Rebbe Motziyah. Therefore, he didn't say to Rabbi Chanina, Man Omer, because Lo Shmiele. Nevertheless, Rabbi Yochanan holds that the Bas cannot collect from the Yerusha Isur Nechasim before they divvy up the Yerusha. And why is that? Shiny Hassam, this is different from the case where the brother died and the Banos are receiving the entire Yerusha. The Karavach base there's in these nechasim that are left now for Chalukah, there's a Revach Gadol much more than an Isur Nechasim. So there's no need and justification for the Bas to receive Isur Nechasim, because there's more in the Yerusha than Isur Nechasim. Now, what would be again if her Chelek, her 50% of the Yerusha would be less than Isur Nechasim? That's a discussion. Now the Gemara asks, Amalei Rav Yemar Rav Ashi Elameata. According to what you're telling me, that if the Bas has Mammon, that's a reason why she shouldn't collect Isur Nechasim. What about a woman, Ashkecha Mitzia B'Alma? She finds something very valuable in the street. The Ika Revach Besa, now she has from this Mitzia a tremendous profit. Is Hachinami V'lo Yavina LeIsur Nechasim? Are you going to say that because she has a vast amount of funds, the whole takana of the Chachamim is batel, and she doesn't collect Isur Nechasim because she has Mammon Rav? We never heard such a thing. Amalei, so Rav Ashi responds to Rav Yemar, Ano Ravach Beisa Mahani Nichse Kamin. Rav Ashi responds to Rav Yemar that when I explain the reasoning of Rav Yochanan that she doesn't get Isa Nechasim because of Revach, I was talking about the Revach that she gets from these Nechasim. We're talking about Nichsei Ovid. We're talking about the estate of the father, the late father. If she has a Revach because of the moment of Aviyah, so what we're going to come back and take from that same moment, that same source, the Isa Nechasim? If she doesn't have Revach from these Nechasim, but rather from other Nechasim, like, for example, a case where she finds a Mitzvah, so she's not collecting Isa Nechasim from this pool of assets, and the Bas will certainly receive Isa Nechasim. Omar Amemar, Bas, a daughter who receives Isa Nechasim from her brothers because of the Takoros Chacham, is Yoreshes Havla. She has the status of Yoreshes Gemura on that chelik that she gets the Maisuk Saf. She's like a ben who inherits his father. And this is coming on Meimer statement Lafuke that we don't consider a Balas Chov vis-a-vis her brothers, but rather she's an equal Yorish. Amalei Rav Ashi La Meimar, are you intending to tell me She'ilu boy l'saluki bezuzah chedamid l'motzi l'sluka? If the Achim decide that they want to pay off this chov of Isa Nesachim, of Isa Nechasim, with Zuzim, they don't want to give her karka from Yerusha, they want to give her currency, cold cash, for Isa Nechasim. And she wants to demand karka with dafka. Are you telling me that they can't pay her off with Mos because she's the Oreshes Gemura and she has the rights to inherit the karka of her father? Amalein. Maybe responds, that's exactly the din. She, the Bas, receives Isa Nechasim because she's the Oreshes Gemura, and you cannot be Misalka b'both. So Rav Ashi asks Meimar, if this daughter is considered a Yoreshes Gemura, Iboy l'sluki b'chada ara, is hachinami d'lomotzi misalika. If the Achim want to be misalika from this karka, meaning that she will not receive a series from every single piece of karka, and she wants to get 1/10 from each piece of karka, are you telling me that they cannot be misalik her from this karka? They have to give her an asiris from every single karka. Rav Ashi responds to them, that's exactly what the din is. The Bas will receive Isa in the Chasim. She's the Oreshes Gemura, and you cannot be misalik her from even one piece of karka. Rav Ashi Omar Bas Balas Chov. Rav Ashi disagrees with Rav Yemar, and he holds that the status of a Bas vis-a-vis Isa and in the Chosim is not that as a member would have it of a Yoreshes, but rather of a Balas Chov. The Afa Memar Hodabe, ultimately even a Memar retracted his original position, and he agrees to Rav Ashi that she's a Balas Chov. The Omer of Yomi, brother of Nechumi, Havaka imno kamida Memar. I was standing in the presence of a Memar. Vasoi hai isisolakame. And a certain woman came in front of him, and she was claiming from her brother's Isa Nechasim. And I saw that the opinion of Hamema was the boil sluke bezuze habi misalkale. If the Achim want to pay her off and give her money, they can do so. And this is what I saw, the view of Amemar, the Shami Me'achai. I heard the brothers, the Havika Amrile, they were saying to their sister, Ilu Havilon Zuze Salikna Bezuze. If we had Mos, we would give you Mos. The Ishtik and Amemar said nothing. Lomer Luhu Lo Bibi. So the shtik of Amemar is proof positive that he holds that the brothers could be Masalika Bimos, which means that her status is not that of a Yoreshes, but rather of a Balas Chol. Now the Gemara wants to know who's obligated in this Chol of Isur Nechasim. Hashta the Amrit Balas Chov Chavya, that her status is that of Balas Chov and not a Yoreshes. Did the Chachamim impose that Chov on the Yisomim as if she is the Balas Chov, the Ava, that her father, her late father's Chayev, to give her Isur Nechasim, and then the Yisomim are paying up that Chov of the father. Oh, another possibility is the Achet, that it's the Achim who owe her Isur Nechasim, and they're not paying up as a representative of the Chov of their father. And the Gemara asks, L'may nafkamina, halach l'maisa, what difference to make whether it's the Chov of the father and they're paying up on his behalf, or it's their own personal Chov? And the Gemara answers, L'migba, l'beinonis, shalo b'shvua, v'ziburis b'shvua. L'migba means to collect Isur Nechasim. If we consider it as a chov that these brothers, the Yorshim, have to pay her, then a chov is collected like any collection from the Lova from Beinanis. And there's another din that she doesn't need a shvua. And that shvua would be that she never collected anything from these nechasim. And that's the halach of a malva. Malva doesn't have to take a shvua that the Lova didn't pay him up. But if, on the other hand, we consider the Achim to be paying the chov of their father, then they can pay it from karka ziburis, because that's the halacha with regard to Yisomim, that in the case of Yisomim, we pay up the chovos of their father from ziburis. And this is based on the Chachamim Hamidu as Din HaYisomim El Din Torah, the Gemara in Gittin on Daf Nun. And that applies to Kol HaNifra Yisomim Chovos Aviyim that they collect from Ziburis and they have to take a Shmuah. What's the law? Is it the Balas Chov of the father or the Balas Chov of the brother? Toshma, the Ravina, he came to the Beis Din, and a daughter of Rav Ashi, after his death, came to Beis Din to collect Isur Nechasim from her late father Rav Ashi's estate. Again, the daughter of Rav Ashi is now collecting Isur Nechasim from the Nechasim of her father Rav Ashi. Ve'adbe Ravina librate Rav Ashi, and Ravina collected for the daughter of Rav Ashi the Mar Breder of Ashi, who is the brother of this woman. Beinanis b'shalo b'shvuah, like the din of Balchov, regular Balchov, and Ravina collected on her behalf the braid the Rav Sama Breder of Ashi. Rav Sama was the son of Rav Ashi and died, and he bequeathed his nechasim to his son, And from him, Ravashi collected the Isser Nechasim for the Bas of Ravashi, Miziburis, Bishmur. Because the Chov was the Chov of Rabbi Sama ben Ravashi, who had passed away. So when it comes from the Somim, then Ein from El Miziburis Bishmur. So we see clearly that Ravina related to the Chov of Isser Nechasim for the Bas, as if she were the Balas Chov of her brothers, and therefore he was gover from them on behalf of their sister from Karka Benedis, and without Shmuel. The Gemara now goes back to discuss whether or not we collect Isur Nechasim from Karka or even from Metaltalin. The Gemara tells the following story. There's a woman who came to Rabbi Nechemia, and she asked him to sort of represent her case to Rabbi Bar Huna, and it was a dayan b'mokom megurea, and he wanted to collect on her behalf Isur Nechasim that she deserves to collect from her brothers. And Sholach le Rav Nechemia Bereder Rav Yosef Rav Bar Huna Zuta in Ardoiki Asya Ha Isol Kamech. He sent him a note that if such and such a woman comes to be Tovea in your court, her Isur Nechasim Agba, collect her Isur Nechasim Afilu Mitzte Rubla, even from the place where they have the Rechaim, the window, even though it's considered Karka, that you can collect. Even this is considered Karka. You collect from Isur Nechasim. The Omer Avashi Ki Avina Be Rav Kahana. When I was in the presence of Rakana V'Madbina, they would collect Isur Nechasim Afilu Me Alma de Beise from Schiras Batim, and that's also considered Karka. It's profits from Karka. Then the Gemara tells further that Sholach le Rav Hanan Rav Huna Chavrin Shlom, Huna, our colleague, peace be with you, Ki Asya Ha Isol Kamach, when such and such a woman comes in your presence to be Toveh Isur Nechasim, Agba Isur Nichse, collect for her on her behalf the Isur Nechasim from the brothers. When the Shliach came in front of Rav Huna, Havi Yosef Rav Sheshes Kamei, Rav Sheshes was there in the presence of Rav Huna. Vehikpid Rav Huna was makpid on the fact that he called him Huna Chavrin. Amalei Rav Huna said to Rav Sheshes, Zil Emola Le, go tell Rav Hanan exactly what I tell you to tell him. And even though it's a Lashon Gnai, tell him Ubishamta Yehei Mandalo Omale Anan. Put into Niduri someone who doesn't say to you Kach v'Kach, tell him Anan v'Anan. Nima Karkaoi Omi Metaltaloi. To be Goveh on behalf of this woman Isur Nechasim, either from Metaltaloi, and then ask him Uman Yosef Be Marzecha Beresha, and who sits in the base Ovel at the front. They had a minhag that the Gadol, who was Mesiv b'mita smucha l'rosh hashulchan, and the Sheni lo, the Chashivusa, would be Mesiv in the mita cheres lamata minu, as Rashi explains. Also, Rav Sheshes l'kamid Rav Hanan. He came to fulfill his mission as he was commanded by Rav Huna. Omer le, Rav Sheshes says to Rav Hanan, Mar, Rabba, you, Rav Hanan, are great. Rav Huna Rabbi de Rabba, and he's even greater than you. Vishamute Shamit Mandalo Omarle. And Rav Huna put into Niduri, he who did not say to you, Mishalo Yomar Lecha, Rav Hanan, that whatever I sent you to tell you should be a Nidu. I have no choice. if I don't fulfill my mission and tell you exactly as he told me to tell you, I'll be put into nidu. The lav the shamet lo avikamina. I wouldn't say these things unless he put me into shabta. And this is what he said to me. On and on. Mimakarkoi o mimataltalot. Should I collect on behalf of this woman Easter Nechasim from Makarkin or from Metaltalot? And he further sent me to ask you, Man Yosef Bamer Schai Beresh, who should sit at the head of the base of Ovel. Ozo Rav Hanan lekamid Mar Ukfa. Amalei Rav Hanan said to Mar Ukfa, Chazimar, see my master, Hechi Shalach li Rav Huna. Look at the Lashon Zilzul that he used when he sent me Anan, the Ode. And furthermore, the question of Marzecha the Shalach li, Lo Yadanim Ayninu. I don't even know what is this thing called a Marzecha. Amalei Rav Ukmar Ukfa responded to Rav Hanan, Emily, easy, tell me where, and here we turn to Samach Tes of the days, Gufadim Dehechav. What were the details of this story? What did you send to him, and what did he respond? Amalei Rav Hanan told Mar Ukva, Hachi v'hachi avimaisa. Amalei Mar Ukva said to Rav Hanan, Gavra de lo yodem ayniu marzecha. A person doesn't know what a marzecha is. What is the meaning of the word marzecha? Sholach le Rav Huna chavrin. You're far away from being a friend and a colleague of Rav Huna. You don't even know what a marzecha is. And therefore you shouldn't have sent it in that way to Rav Huna. Rav Huna is therefore justified in what he responded to you. And now the Gemara is going to clarify what is a marzecha.